Hello and welcome back to the Days of Donizetti. Today marked our first day of actual rehearsals for our upcoming production of Elixir, and what an amazing show we already have. What an amazing cast, what an amazing energy we have in the room. I can't wait for you all to see it. But we have some music to get through first. Yesterday, we talked about the orchestral prelude and the introduction. And as soon as those final chords of the overture are played, we jump right into a folk dance. And it begins with sort of innocuous open chords. These open sort of harmonies clearly are meant to represent a folk setting, a very pastoral setting. I don't think it's any coincidence that Donizetti himself chose the key of F major for this setting. He would have been very familiar with Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, famously set in F major. The key itself has sort of come to represent a pastoral folk country setting. His study and work with his teacher, Simon Mayr, that we covered on day one, would have helped him understand this very, very clearly. Now, what kind of dance is this? It's an upbeat, lively dance in a 6/8 time. Now, what that means is there are 6 beats to every measure. Now, it's set in this sort of lilting 2. We all famously recognize these fast, lively Italian dances. There are many different variations and forms. They come to us from all over Italy. Is it a tarantella or is it a monferrina? Arguably most famous types of Italian dances that are set in lively meters in 6/8. So which one is it? Well, it's sort of, we have to probably look at the region where they come from. The tarantella is famous for coming from the south of Italy, even though there are other regional variations of the dance. But the monferrina comes to us from the northern part of Italy, from Piemonte, which is the region just west of Milan. So it's interesting, this would have been probably more near and dear and closely associated to Donizetti than the tarantella would have been. There's a certain energy that it has to have because it opens the opera. Well, that's exactly what we hope to achieve when the chorus comes in shortly thereafter. The chorus, speaking about how long and hot the day is, how happy they are to have a rest from the work. It's full of energy, different textures, and it's a perfect way to bring the audience into the experience and set the landscape for this very pastoral and rural setting. Now, after the chorus is done telling their story, we jump in straight into something known as a cavatina, which has a very different meaning for Donizetti than other composers. It's interesting because Donizetti used the term cavatina as a sort of catch-all. Different types of arias, different type of ensembles. He just sort of slapped the same name on, and you see many cavatinas in this Elixir of Love that have different forms and formats. This one here is sung by our protagonist, Nemorino. It's Quanto bella, quanto è cara. Of course, singing about the beautiful Adina. And it begins in the happy, beautiful key of C major. It's interesting, we just got from F major to C, 2 keys that are very closely related. This is something that Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was very famous for, related keys moving through the opera. He had a very specific progression of chords picked out, and it's interesting to see the similarity here in Donizetti's music. And this is the details that sometimes get overlooked in his score. But we begin with this fun, lush accompaniment. And Nemorino sings all about how beautiful and caring she is. There she is reading. There she is studying. Oh, how I wish that I could be with her and spend some time with her. In many different productions of the opera, you often see this cavatina having a very specific place between the choral introduction that we heard. This little cavatina appears, and then the chorus takes over once again. In our production, that second iteration of the chorus is cut, and we jump in right from that aria of Nemorino into another cavatina. This time it's Adina's, but that one we'll talk about tomorrow. Join me for the next Days of Donizetti.